Bobby, probably you understood a little bit of the response of Dutch people. We ask what the hour of power means in their life. Why do you think the hour of power is so popular in the Netherlands or so well received?
Well, I think the message that we're giving is a universal message, and I think it's true everywhere we go, that the things I'm saying today are things people said 1,000 years ago. We learn them from the scriptures, and the Bible is bread. We say it's the bread of life, right? And people think, I've already had bread. I had bread a week ago. But no, you need to have bread every day. And I think we live in a world that is becoming spiritually starving. And my hope is that hour of power is bread, just for people, free bread.
That's what you want to communicate with this world. And you said, it's a universal message because the hour of power is seen in China, in Europe, in Africa, all over the world.
That's right.
What is your biggest joy?
My biggest joy in hour of power is just seeing people's lives changed. My message is really about personal development, that life gets better when you get better. And all I'm doing is teaching discipleship in plain language. We don't use the word discipleship a lot because people get lost in it, but to be a disciple is to be a student. It means that you're working on yourself, that you're trying to build the kind of character that changes your life. And some people catch it when they watch Hour of Power, and some people apply it, some people do it. Some people that watch Hour of Power, they just get encouraged, but there's other people that say, I'm going to read the books. I'm going to change my behavior. I'm going to build a big dream. I'm going to write my goals down. And it's amazing that over time, as people take these giant steps in their life, they say, it works. Whoa. And those are the stories that I love the most, is when people decide to be really a disciple, to really commit themselves to personal development.
Yeah. In the footsteps of Jesus, in the footsteps of the rabbi, is your message different from the message that Jesus spread 2,000 years ago, or is it exactly the same?
I mean, I hope it's the same. He was preaching his message in the best way he could, telling the stories in the best way he could to the people he could. So Jesus, as a teacher, obviously took his teaching seriously. It was still about light and dark, right and wrong, heaven and hell, good and evil. Take up your cross and follow me. And yet at the same time, there is a lightheartedness to him as well, where very often the Pharisees, they don't like that he's sitting down and eating with tax collectors and Zacchaeus and prostitutes. I mean, we think, oh, it's so lovely he ate with prostitutes. But imagine you saw your pastor, you went down to a cafe and you saw your pastor at a table with 10 prostitutes. You might scratch your head. You might think, oh, I don't know about that. And so Jesus had no problem. In those days, to eat with someone was to call them an equal. And so Pharisees would never do that. And even the Zacchaeus story, you think about this, that Jesus picked Zacchaeus in that town out of any religious leader. Imagine, Jesus comes to town and whoever he has dinner with is the one who's honored. And you have Martin Luther King and Mother Teresa and some other great, these great people. And then he says, Bernie Madoff, I'm coming to your house today. We're going to eat together. Everybody goes, oh, Bernie Madoff, he stole from my mother. He robbed me. He got away with it, and da-da-da-da-da. And so that was the shocking thing about Jesus was his ability in a very joyful and fun way to sit at the table with sinners. But they always left change, of course, so that's important.
Yeah. So. Do you like to sit on the table with sinners?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a very extroverted person, as my family can attest. You're this way too, I love meeting strangers all the time. And especially, when we started our church, we actually started in a bar, an American Legion Hall is a beer hall. And we had many times where, I would be preaching a sermon, and from like one time, the real story, behind me, a young guy in his early 20s, completely drunk. All he was wearing was shorts, no shoes or shirt or anything, was bright red, stumbled in, and everybody looked. I looked behind me like this, and somebody from our church just took him and sat next to him, and he curled up like this, kind of like this guy, and put his head on one of our elders' laps, and we just sat there. We continued to have church with this drunk guy sleeping and that's how our church has always been. Always inviting. People, like I have this joke, every once in a while when I'm welcoming people, I say, our church is not full of hypocrites. there's always room for more. It's like, like it's not full of everything.
Yeah.
So like we understand that there's hypocrites in the church. We understand that there's sinners in the church. We understand that a lot of people in the church, even leaders, are often doing things they shouldn't be doing. But we also have an agreement that we want to live holy and good lives. We want to live righteous lives. But we have this expression, do your best and forget the rest. Yeah. And the number one reason people leave church is because they sin or they make a mistake or they go through a divorce. But a church should be like a hospital. It's for the sick. It's not for the healthy. It is
That's a great example.
That's
church
it.
Should be a hospital.
That's it. It's where we go to get well.
Yeah.
It's where if you feel lonely, go to church. If you're a sinner, go to church. And in fact, to not go to church is your way of saying, I'm perfect. I got it. I don't need the Lord. I figured it all out. I'm done learning. I'm done growing. I'm done improving. And I think it's important, of course, obviously, that we never get to a place where we say, I figured it all out. And that is the key. A healthy church is one where people know they can go and get better.
Yeah, you pointed out, you said that guy. That's our gift from the Hour of Power in Netherlands for you. It's from a sculpturist, famous sculpturist, called Timothy Schultz. It's called The Homeless Jesus.
I love it. Thank you, Jan. This is a beautiful...
Look at the feet.
Yeah, it's Jesus. This is Matthew 25, right? Where the sheep and the goats. I was naked, I was hungry, I was in prison.
I would love you to read it if you can.
Absolutely.
And explain what our mission is.
Yeah. Then the king shall say to those on the right hand, come, you who are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when do we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? The king will answer, and he will say to them, truly, I tell you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, even the least of these, you did it for me. Amen.
What a gospel, huh?
That's the gospel.
What a loving Savior.
That's right.
We have a jubilee. The Hour of Power Netherlands is 25 years this month.
Wonderful. I love it.
Makes you happy?
Of course. What an amazing thing. I love the story of my grandfather calling you on the phone, in the middle of the night. Jan, I need to start our... That was his personality all the way. Yeah. Just, and needs it right now, Yeah. And I'm grateful to be standing on the shoulder of a giant like him, and grateful for him teaching me. So
1970, the Hour of Power started.
Yeah.
And you're walking in the footsteps of your grandfather.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing. And it's amazing what he accomplished in his lifetime. I think that a lot of people point to building the Crystal Cathedral as this great accomplishment. I actually think one of his greatest accomplishments was getting the Hour of Power on in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Yeah. He got a evangelical Christian church service on television in the Soviet Union through his friendship with Mikhail Gorbachev via Arm & Hammer. And what just the power of networking. You see it right there. He just accomplished so much. And honestly, when I think about my grandpa, for me, he was my mentor. We were close, very close. In real life, sitting here, he's just like he was on the pulpit, just big voice, big chested,
This is the day.
Yeah, bye, Grandpa, have a good day. No, make it a great day, and this kind of thing, I actually wish Haven and my kids could have got to know him. He's such a special guy.
Yeah, your grandfather had one expression, and probably yours as well. If you believe it, you can do it.
Yeah. If you believe it, you can do it. That's right. That's 100% right.
Yeah.
Our world believes that less and less.
Yeah.
One of the big challenges for every human being today is to blame because they're embarrassed about where they are in life. Anybody who goes through divorce, they blame the other person. They never take responsibility. Anytime people don't achieve their dreams or whatever and they're confronted, they never say, I didn't achieve my dreams because I didn't do the work and I didn't learn the thing and I didn't apply myself and I didn't take responsibility. It's always, I got sued. I got betrayed. It's the government's fault. It's this, it's that. And the problem is in life, there's no easy goals, right? Every goal has challenges. You can't just make a goal and assume it's going to be a smooth sail, right? And anyway, smooth seas never made a good sailor, right? You need those challenges. And those walls that are there, those walls, the brick walls that keep you, that feel like they're keeping you from getting your goal, they're not there to keep you out. They're there to keep out people who don't want it bad enough. They're there to keep out the people who don't refuse to apply themselves. And so I think we live in an era where more and more people don't believe if you believe it, you can achieve it. But the truth is, if you apply yourself, it's being old, being young, too young, being not educated, being poor, none of those things can stop you if you really are committed to the dream. None of those things can. The only thing that can stop you is you. That's what I believe. If you have a little bit of intelligence and if you're relatively healthy, and even if you're unhealthy, I know you can do amazing things.
Yeah. Who is Bobby Schuller?
The first thing I would define myself, and this is important, is just as being a beloved child of God. I think that's the first thing. So we teach that a lot too, right? Yeah, I think of myself as a son of God. I think of myself as a father and a friend and a good husband and a pastor.
You mentioned the word friend. We have a kind of jubilee as well, because 25 years ago I met you for the first time. You were
That's
17
right.
in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And that friendship, and thank you for that, has been developed through the years. What is your dream for the Hour of Power? What's your hope?
We have maybe 2 million people right now watching Hour of Power. My hope is to get to 10 million someday. I have another dream that I don't talk about a lot, which is a long, long ways away, which is to either buy or build another crystal cathedral. This is something that's maybe 10, 20 years from now. I remember once there was something I wanted to do. It was actually when I wanted to move to Germany to go to the World's Fair. Someone close to me said, "Why do you need to do that? Why do you need to go to Germany?" And I said, "I don't need to go to Germany. I want to." And I think it's important as Christians that we get out of this, why do you need this? Why do you need that? As if the only thing we ought to have is what we need. We ought to have what we need, but we can get things we want too. And I think that's important to know that if you want to achieve great things, if you want to build great things, if you want to do beautiful things, if that's what you want to do, and it's moral and good, do it. Why not? And it's a great exercise for Christians who have been caught in legalism, especially when somebody says, "Why do you need that?" to say, "I don't. I want it. It's my dream." And that's okay. That's a good thing. The Bible does not say that our cup is full. It says that our cup runneth over. And so it's important. One of the big mind shifts to take is to shift from scarcity, which is only do what you need, to do all that you want. A lot of people would say things like, especially talking about the poor, a lot of people in that scarcity mindset would say something like, "Why would you spend all of that money on a building when you could help the poor?" And that's a ridiculous question. I understand why people would say...
I think there's some value to that question.
It's not a valuable question. It's a bad question because the people that ask that, first of all, rarely are doing anything for the poor. You know who else asked an almost identical question was Judas Iscariot. Yeah. So a woman with a very valuable perfume that was worth a year's wages, something like that, poured it all on Jesus' feet to prepare him for his death, remember? And remember what Judas said? "Why such waste?" That was the question. Why such waste? And then he followed it up with, "That money could have been used to care for the poor." And Jesus says, remember what he says? "You shall always have the poor, but she's doing this to prepare me." Yeah. Right? So to me, when I see that story, it's about worship. And here's something I learned when I was at the Crystal Cathedral working with homeless people. Homeless people need more than bread. Homeless people need more than clothing. We had, and I still have, many friends who are homeless. And the number one need for homeless in America is actually friendship. They need friends. They need a place to belong. And when I was at the Crystal Cathedral, it was full of homeless people who would go to a gym, they would shower, they would put on a nice shirt, and they would come to church, and people knew they were homeless sometimes. People sometimes didn't know, but they would receive dignity, friendship, a family. And the Crystal Cathedral was their building. It was their church, and they took a lot of pride in it. And see, this is the problem today with so many people, politically especially, is that everything is oppressed and oppressor. Everything is victim and oppressor, and that's just not how the world is. So I think creating great art, creating great buildings, creating great experiences, if it's for the public, if it's for everyone. Like, I don't want to build a glass cathedral for me to be in, right? It's not just for me to be alone. It's for the public. It's for everyone, forever, for free. And I think if somebody doesn't believe in that and doesn't want it, then don't give. So I think that I just find so inspiring is when any person has goals, has a vision, has a dream, knows where they want to go, believes it's possible, is working on themselves. Every human being wants to become more, wants to be more, wants to achieve more, wants to make an impact on life. And we live in such an amazing time. It doesn't matter how old you are, if you can make an impact on people's lives.
To conclude, Bobby, what is your wish for your Dutch friends who watch you every Sunday?
My wish for the Dutch is that they'll just continue to do what they're doing. I mean, I will just tell you, I love this country. And I think COVID had a negative effect on everyone. And I hope that the Dutch continue to be as joyful and jolly and friendly and bicycle riding and flower loving and food loving as they always have been. I love this culture, I love these people, and I love to be here because I always feel right at home.
I hope you will come back many, many times to encourage what you did a couple of weeks ago during the live events with thousands of people that attended those meetings. And thank you for coming over to the Netherlands and sharing that joyful message of there's hope for the future. And let's watch a compilation of the live events with Bobby Schuller. Vrienden, welkom bij het YouTube-kanaal van Hour of Power. Hier vind je de interviews die ik mag hebben, inspirerende toespraken van Bobby Schuller en de muziek uit onze uitzendingen. En ik hoop dat de gesprekken die ik mag voeren met bekende en onbekende Nederlanders je ook zullen bemoedigen. Nou, ik nodig je uit om de abonneerknop in te drukken op het YouTube-kanaal en zo met ons in contact te blijven. Tot ziens bij Hour of Power via YouTube.